Hi guys, Dr. Ram here again. I wanted to talk to you guys about Jillian Michaels versus the ketogenic diet. Last week, Jillian Michaels made some statements against the ketogenic diet, and I wanted to have the opportunity to respond to that. Specifically, she says, I don't understand. Why would anyone think that this is a good idea? She says it's a bad plan for a million different reasons, and that keto diet deprives your body of essential nutrients. And she says that there's three macronutrients: carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, and your body needs all three of them. So in order to respond to that, I wanted to quickly explain what exactly the ketogenic diet is. It's a diet of a specific ratio of the three different macronutrients, which are carbohydrates, fat, and protein. Specifically, it's a low carbohydrate diet, so about 10% of your calories would come from carbohydrates. It would be high fat, meaning 70 to 80% of your calories would come from healthy fat sources, and moderate protein intake, so about 10 to 20% of your calories would come from protein sources. So one of the statements she made that your body needs all three of the macronutrients and that the keto diet deprives your body of essential nutrients is actually factually incorrect. So there's a thing called essential fats, there's a thing called essential proteins, but there's not a thing called essential carbohydrates, and that's an important distinction to clarify. So essential in the dietary nutrition world means that your body does not have the ability to produce that thing. So what does that mean? You have to supplement it through your diet. So there's something called essential fatty acids or essential fats, and you get that like omega-3 and omega-6. Your body doesn't have the ability to effectively create those nutrients. So you have to get that through supplementation or through your diet. Same thing with proteins. Proteins are made up of nucleic acids, and there's certain nucleic acids that your body does not have the ability to synthesize by itself. So what does that mean? You have to get that from a dietary source or a supplement source. However, there's not something called an essential carbohydrate. So there's not anything that your body cannot produce naturally by itself that you need to supplement through diet in a form of a carbohydrate. So next, in order to clarify what the benefits of a ketogenic diet are, we have to understand a little bit about the way our body produces energy or energy metabolism. So your body has three primary sources of energy. That's glucose, second is glycogen, and third is fat. So glucose, glycogen, and fat. The best example I have ever heard that explains this is like money. Money that we, like change that we have in our pocket. The second source of money that we store is cash in our wallet. And the third source of energy of money that we store is in the bank. So the first source of energy is glucose, and that can be equated to like change in our pocket. That's the first money we reach for when we go to a cash register. We'll burn through that pretty fast. But when we run out of that, our body then dips into our secondary source of energy, which is glycogen. And there's more energy stored in glycogen, which is like the cash in our wallet. Similarly, we'd have a little more cash in our wallet, presumably, than the change that we have in our pocket, right? So our body first burns through that glucose that's circulating in our bloodstream first. Then once that is depleted, then we go to the secondary energy source, which is glycogen, which is like the cash in our wallet. Once we have depleted our glycogen stores, then we start dipping into our third source of energy, which is fat, which is like cash in the bank. So once we've depleted the cash in our pocket, then the cash in our wallet is depleted. Then we dip into our bank account, which we can store a much larger amount of cash, obviously. So the ketogenic diet's the same thing. It's a very low carbohydrate diet, which means that we deplete the amount of glucose in our bloodstream, then we dip into our glycogen and then deplete the glycogen stores that we have in our body, and then we resort to fat as the primary source of fuel that our body uses to generate energy. So why would we want to do that? So on average, our body has about 2,500 calories stored in glucose in our bloodstream and in glycogen. However, our body stores up to 40,000 calories in fat stores throughout the entire body, which means that it's a much more abundant source of energy that our body uses to burn fuel. So there are a couple things that statements that Jillian Michaels made that I do highly agree with. She says, don't eat processed sugar, don't eat processed grains. Yes, I completely agree with that. And she says it's best to eat a well-rounded diet. And I 100% agree with that. But I would argue that there's a difference between a clean keto diet and a dirty keto diet. And a clean keto diet is a well-rounded diet. A dirty keto diet is something that's you'll see on the press, on the news. There's something called a keto bro that eats nothing but bacon and red meat. And that's called a dirty keto diet. But I would advocate and advocate people who are looking into the ketogenic diet to pursue something called a clean keto diet, which is a diet full of healthy fats, but it's also replete with plenty of delicious micronutrients, macronutrients in the source of vegetables and root vegetables and all delicious types of healthy plant sources of phytonutrients and of micronutrients and of minerals that our body definitely needs to thrive. So I would argue a clean ketogenic diet is in fact a well-balanced diet. The last thing I want to highlight is a study done recently by Dr. Susan Halberg, and it shows the effectiveness of the ketogenic diet. They took patients that were type 2 diabetics and put them on a ketogenic diet to see the effect of the ketogenic diet on diabetes. The results were stunning. 94% of study participants were able to reduce the use of insulin, and 60% of study participants were able to have their diagnosis of diabetes reversed. That's right, they were cured of type 2 diabetes altogether. You'll never find a drug that will be able to reach those kinds of results. And I would argue that the pharmaceutical companies don't want to reverse your diabetes, right? Because that would mean you probably don't have to take their drug anymore, right? And that's not the aim of the pharmaceutical drugs. The aim of the drugs is to manage the disease and not to cure the diabetes. For more information on clean ketogenic diet, follow my newsletter, follow my blog at www.drram.co, where you can subscribe to my newsletter. For daily wellness tips and health tips, follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @drram.pharm.D. All right, that's it for today, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.